Hi everyone, my name is Kenneth Martin, your host of the Hard Hat Talks podcast. I'm joined today by Scott from Stratum Masonry. Hi Scott.
Hi Kenny, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. I'm fine. Scott, thanks for coming on the podcast. Early January, things are looking up for 2026.
Yeah, New Year.
New Year. Yeah. We always start off the podcast with a wee introduction from yourself, who you are, a wee bit about your business, and how maybe you get involved in your industry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So been in the construction industry now for 16 years.
Oh, you not managed to get out then, no?
No. I don't like it. Was on a building site since I was 14, so maybe not allowed anymore these days, but always been in building sites, loved working with my hands, loved working outdoors, and get into stonemasonry purely by chance. Left college where I done my HNC in computing, realised I hated college and the whole setup, and was told that if you're not going to college, you're not going to work on a building site. Started a job as a labourer and was working with stonemasons. Didn't know what a stonemason was. And I got offered an apprenticeship, and that was 16 years ago. So got my apprenticeship, got qualified, and then soon realised that I had a real passion for working on historical buildings. Done that, and then got in a management position, was a contracts manager when I was 23, which was really daunting. But realised that I wanted to do things a different way. So in 2019, I set up Stratum Masonry, and we deliver all things stonework for residential and commercial clients, and specialising in things like restoration, conservation, and some new build stuff as well.
Excellent. So what's that, 7 years the business has been
Yeah,
going now?
7 years next year. Yeah.
Excellent. So tell us, for the listeners and the viewers then, tell us a wee bit about Stratum Mason in terms of what does the business look like in terms of employees and offices and vans, and give us a wee bit of
So we're based in Dunmarlock, Rutherglen at the moment. We've been there now for the last 4 years. We started from a garage in my house, but we're currently running now with a team of up to 20 staff. We've got 8 company vans, and we've got a team that are incredible at what they do. We're really passionate about passing down our knowledge and our skills. It's quite niche what we do. And one of our main goals for the business is to train the next generation of craftsmen and craftspeople. So we've currently just had 3 apprentices qualify at the end of last year, and we're actively looking now to add to that and recruit this year's crop of apprentices.
Good. It's interesting you keep saying we and the culture and all that stuff, because as business owners and a business owner myself, I talk about our culture and what have you, but I guess the question I'm going to ask you is how do you make sure that in your business that's actually transposing? So you're saying about transferring of skills to the next generation. How are you actually making sure that that's happening?
So the biggest thing for us is that the team is everything. I'm only as good as the team that we've got. We can't do what we do without everyone behind the scenes now, whether that's everyone in the office, whether that's somebody in the yard delivering materials, or whether that's the guys on site. Everyone plays a vital part in that, so that's why I always say we. But for us, it's about making sure that our apprentices are mentored and supported. They're not just put on a building site to do whatever's needed done. When I was an apprentice, there was a lot of sweep up get done. A lot of stuff that was done that wasn't apprenticeship based. So our model is that we make sure our apprentices basically get what they need to get in terms of experience to make sure that they're getting the skills necessary to make that jump and being a tradesman.
Right. Well, I mean, we've done quite a few episodes of the podcast now, and apprenticeships is always something that's brought up, every other podcast. And I think in our summer it went out in Christmas time, there was certain themes that were reoccurring in the podcast, and getting new blood into industry and apprenticeships was one of the big things. I know because we had a wee conversation earlier that's one of the biggest challenges. People is one of the biggest challenges, and that's what we're here to talk about today. But maybe we can dive a wee bit deeper then into what the apprenticeship world looks like, and what it means for your business, and maybe if there's a wee fix somewhere or something that you're doing different or something, we can do different generally to try and make that easier for apprenticeships to get in the industry. So maybe if you want to just start off by talking a wee bit about, let's just talk about a young kid, who's interested in becoming a stonemason, or maybe not interested in becoming, doesn't know they're interested in becoming a stonemason. So if you take it back to grassroots at school, how do you start to influence those kids?
So for me, growing up, an apprenticeship or working in a building site was literally the last resort. You need to remove that stigma.
Right.
There's some incredible opportunity within construction. It's gave me a great career already in the 16 years I've been doing it.
Yeah.
But to just have the stigma of, well, you need to go to a building site or you need to go and get a trade, I think that's wrong. There's a lot of people out there that go to college and university and they spend years of their life to realise that they don't actually like it or they don't need it. So for me, you need to increase the visibility. You need to be letting kids know at primary school level that there is apprenticeships out there in trades like stonemasonry. Our apprentices all came through word of mouth. We did not get them through like a pathway through school or route to work. It was all through people who we knew.
Right.
So I think that's the big problem to start with. The visibility of apprenticeships, what is actually required at the moment, what we do and how we do it.
Right.
So social media, utilising these platforms, having careers days at schools. I think having more of that and making sure that these kids at an earlier platform in their life know about this.
Right.
I think that helps.
So is that something that you're potentially doing as a business owner yourself, or is it something, there's some kind of government program now that's doing that, or is it still something to be tackled?
I think it needs to be tackled.
Right.
We're very big on sharing what we do. Probably one of the reasons we ended here.
Yeah.
Sharing what we do online, sharing what we do to both our clients and potential staff, and showing kids that this is very much an active career. It's a very fulfilling career. When you're working on these older buildings, you're taking them from a kind of disused state and then seeing them and being part of that building's history, and knowing that you can do the famous thing a trade guy or person does is that, oh, I worked on that.
Yeah. I think I'm actually just thinking about our own profession as architects, because a lot of people think, I suppose, the architect's job is to design buildings, but actually the true joy becomes from being on site and working with your contractor and making sure that the contractor's got the vision. It's not just my vision, it's the client's vision, and making sure that that's getting delivered. So there is a whole kind of, I'd probably maybe argue that probably from an architect's perspective as well, I don't mean as an apprentice, but maybe as an architect starting off at university, there's probably or maybe still a bit of a stigma or a fear of having to go to site and deal with the site stuff as well. You know, never mind the weather right enough, but that can be fun as well. Okay, so if there was a young kid then who was interested in becoming an apprenticeship, let's say we've tackled a bit at school and we've got, right, we know that this kid's interested in becoming an apprentice stonemason. How does the business or the government then support them? So if we were talking to a parent or what have you and saying, look, this is how the government can support your kid, here's the programme, here's the wages, here's the timescales, what does that look like for the apprentice?
Currently?
Yeah.
So at the moment, if someone comes on board with ourselves and we both think that we're a good fit for an apprenticeship, the apprentice goes on block release. So they do 2 weeks on site and 2 weeks off site.
Right.
And that 2 weeks off site is at college.
Right. Okay.
So they're getting paid to learn.
Right. Okay.
And this is where the problems start to have, because as an employer, where we're fortunate to have a great team, that if an apprentice goes to college, then we can subsidise the other team members to allow for that. But on a smaller scale, a business that maybe only has 2 or 3 members of staff, that's quite impactful, where you lose a member of staff for half of the month. So I think that's where the problems start to occur.
Right, okay.
And that's where the logistics of the apprenticeship schemes is changing.
Right, okay. Why? How?
Because I don't think it's viable for employers to take on that apprentice.
Right, okay.
Based on the logistics of it.
Right.
And the fact that, like I was saying there, if you've got, say, 4 members of staff and a quarter of your team needs to go to college 2 weeks of the month, a lot of employers don't see the viability for that long term, especially knowing or thinking that at the end of the apprenticeship, that apprentice might leave and they're qualified.
Yeah. So no support from the government then financially for those circumstances, or different types of businesses, different types of support?
There's a CITB scheme that's in place at the moment, and I don't know if it's the right setup at the moment, because you pay a levy for that. And by a levy, I mean you pay it once or twice a year, depending on the size of your business. But if you don't have apprentices, then it doesn't make sense. But for me, the CITB scheme isn't working.
Right.
In terms of the support the employers get and also the apprentices.
Right, okay.
So I think it needs to be overhauled.
Right, okay. And any rumours of maybe that happening? No?
There is reports being done at this moment in time.
Right.
I had a conversation with a former college colleague who was my teacher many years ago. And I believe the Scottish Government and others are interested in this topic
Uh-huh.
because they know the housing crisis that we're facing,
Yeah,
and also the skills gap that's getting larger in construction.
yeah, yeah. That's not just that. That's across the board in construction,
Construction.
and the professionals as well. I mean, we're seeing it in the QSs, the engineers. I keep saying the professionals because I do actually believe that professional tradesmen are professional tradesmen as well. I don't mean it in
Yeah,
any
yeah.
slight like that, but okay. So if on that basis, then, if anyone from CITB is listening, then please do hook us up because I'd love to pick your brains and maybe find out what is happening in the apprenticeship world because 2025, certainly the podcast we've done did show that apprenticeships was a burning issue for most trades businesses.
Yep.
So I guess one of the questions that any parent or any kid who's interested in becoming an apprentice was going to ask is, what does the remuneration look like? And I get that could vary across different types of trades, but is there something you can tell us about?
So basically, if you go through your apprenticeship, we've got like a set schedule that we work to. If your first year, you would get, which would be minimum wage, and then you get in the second year, and then your third year, you get basically a sliding scale, so it's a percentage of your tradesman rate.
Right, okay.
And then once you fully qualify, you become a tradesman on paper.
Right, yeah, yeah.
But I believe your apprenticeship actually starts once you qualify. Because colleges and the courses that are set up, they're great, but they're perfect environments. And what you said earlier on about having good weather, you get that in college, but the minute you go to site and you've got, whether it's towards the end of last year, you've got the winter conditions, the cold mornings, the dark nights, that's when your apprenticeship really starts, knowing how to combat the different conditions.
Yeah, I think that's also true for us as architects. We, as an architect right now, you're 5 years qualifications, and 2 years working in an office, and I would say it's probably arguably 2 years working in offices when you actually do start to learn more about architecture, the industry, the construction industry, putting buildings together, working with trades guys, working with other consultants, and some of the theory stuff that's university. Well, very important. I'm not decrying it. It's not actually what you learn, and we talk about post qualification experience as well. So architects with 3 to 5 years experience, because that's when they start to become arguably useful in the business.
Totally understand
so
that.
That's it. So we know there's an issue. Thanks for explaining some of the intricacies of an apprenticeships into stonemasons. We've had some previous guests telling us that actually there's still a huge interest in apprenticeships and becoming apprenticeships, but the challenge is ultimately some of the employers are just not taking these people on. So maybe you want to tell us a wee bit some of your experiences then of having apprentices in your business. Sorry.
So we've kind of got two things come to mind. When COVID hit, we took a decision to basically, we couldn't find the staff we needed to cope with demand, so we took a decision to train, and that's when we started really pushing apprenticeships. And even at this moment in time, we physically can't get enough of the right staff that we need. So we are actively looking for apprentices. We also take on other people and we upskill them, whether they want a change in career.
Right.
And we offer the opportunities there. But for me, the foundation of any business, any successful construction business, needs to be when you're bringing through talent and you're bringing through people that have got the same values, ethos, and morals of what it is you're setting out to do.
So do you have, and trying to find those people in as a business owner, you must go through quite a few candidates and go, gave you a start, but you're not for us.
Yeah, I could write a book about it when it comes to people. Where there's people, there's problems. Somebody told me once, and it's so true. It's never the job, it's everything that goes on about that. But recruitment is an issue in construction. I think in this digital age that we live in, people are obviously resorting to podcasts, YouTube, where this platform will be hosted. This podcast, sorry. But it's a hard sell, construction. It's a hard sell when you've got the dark nights, the early mornings, the kind of cold conditions, the winters that can be really harsh at times.
Yeah.
It's a hard sell as opposed to somebody that maybe is more interested in doing like e-commerce or online or social media or whatever it may be. So that is one of the barriers as well. But for us, we want people to know where we are, we're open, and we always welcome good people.
Yeah. I think too many people over egg how much money they can make in those other kind of platforms. And realistically, I mean, every month it scares me how much AI is progressing. We've seen it some of the software programs. It's not as sophisticated as some clients might think, but you can take some images and ask AI to change it, but it's the generation of the first image is the thing that still requires a lot of human input. But for the love of me, I can't understand why. If going down the social media route and becoming an influencer, isn't your thing, and not a lot of people will be successful at that level. But surely, with the invention of AI, being a tradesperson or learning a trade, working with your hands is something that there's going to be a huge demand for at some point in the future. And well, if not already, but in the next 10 years, if we're going to start building again, we need all these people to be properly remunerated as well.
AI can't replace what you do with your hands physically.
No.
Whether it's this room we're sitting in, this building, or the road that I drove here in, it was built by humans.
Yeah.
And that'll always be there.
Yep.
Especially when it comes to housing, construction, anything at all that is required. AI is great. I think we welcome it. It should be utilised, but we should not be dependent on it. At the end of the day, it's only as good as the physical human input.
Yeah.
And that will generate the output that you're looking for. But I think it should be embraced for construction, for trades, for any business. But like I say, there shouldn't be a reliance on it.
Yeah. No, I think I agree with you that one. I think there is certain roles and responsibilities, maybe within the office, that you can now hire a bot to take your calls, so that for a bit want of a better word, your receptionist or admin team aren't answering calls anymore. So these bots can actually answer your phone call, have a conversation with you. Who would you like to speak to? I'll check the diary. Oh, they're free. We can transfer you to so and so. You go, my goodness, all of a sudden the PA is no longer required, And okay, fair enough. And I've been watching some programs as well. It was, I'm sure it was China. We talk in some fear of trepidation over here in the UK about driverless cars.
Right.
But over there, the taxis, it's quite popular. It's quite common. You jump in a taxi and before you know it, you're going somewhere else, and it's doing everything what it needs to do relatively safely as well. So I think we're going to see changes, but I think in terms of the construction industry, I think there's still going to be that huge demand for apprenticeships and new blood coming on board. And that's what we're really here to do. So you mentioned that really getting that information to the school kids is fundamental at the start. I know that we've had some previous guests, Invertay, guys at Invertay have had competitions for school kids to try and get some dialogue and debate and get some interest in the construction industry. I think from memory, interestingly enough, even although most of them enjoyed the project, they weren't too keen to go into the construction industry. We do attend schools as well and bring them up to speed with what's happening in industry. And in fact, one of the kids I remember, because he was the son of someone I went to school with, he didn't know that at the time, but I clocked him. He actually turned up going into the construction industry as well. I'm not saying that we influenced him, but probably it had something to do with it. In a roundabout way. Anything we can do to get the kids in, I think is important. What about someone who's maybe not a kid then? What about someone who's maybe a bit more mature, looking for a career shift? You've mentioned that. How does the apprenticeship scheme support them? Because they've probably got expenses, a car, house, or whatever. Is how.
I think, given what we've seen at the end of last year with the Labour government, I think it's getting increasingly harder now for people that want to maybe take on an adult apprenticeship.
Right.
And the reason for that is that the barrier of entry, if you don't have the transferable skills, the employer physically, it doesn't stack in terms of then taking you on with the budgets and with what they're doing, obviously, for the national living wage, which I totally agree with. But as an employer, there's a massive gap there where you need to obviously front the money until they learn the skill, and that's only getting larger. So I think for adult apprentices, it's getting more difficult, but it is there, it's available. And if you've got transferable skills, it definitely helps. But if you're starting from a whole different industry and trying to start from scratch, it's very challenging.
Yeah, I don't think sorting the apprenticeship issue alone is going to be enough, because if your business, you've got 20 staff, say you're bringing on 2 or 3 apprentices a year, it's great, it's brilliant, but it's not going to fix the housing crisis. We keep talking about the housing crisis. I think it's more than a housing crisis. I think it's a whole construction crisis. I think we're seeing the same for commercial projects, developers looking at London trying to get staff or trades guys on site. It's just not there yet. You know, could be a Brexit thing. You know, maybe not. But I don't know. Is there a magic wand?
I wish there was. I think construction, like I said earlier, it's a hard sell. I think a lot of people in the last few years have realised that construction maybe isn't for them that maybe was in construction. There's more people leaving, people with some really incredible skills that they should be passing down, but they're leaving the industry due to age, health, whatever it may be. Their situation's changing, so I don't have the magic wand, unfortunately. But I do think if we make construction more appealing, I think the construction model in the commercial market is broken. I think when you are a tendering company like we are most of the time, and you're up against another 4 or 5 companies, it doesn't matter how well you tender or whatever, but if the client is solely focused on price, you tend to find that there'll be issues. You tend to find there'll be problems that will occur, and the race to the bottom doesn't win.
No.
For me.
No.
In construction. And when you start squeezing specialist subcontractors who are trying to deliver a project on a tight budget, on a tight time frame, it's a hard sell. And there's a lot of stress and a lot of demand and a lot of pressure that comes in construction, and you know yourself, Kenny, more than most people, but mental health in construction is a big issue as well. So I think the construction model is broken, and I think everything starts at government level. Legislation needs to get brought in when you're working with these tier 1, tier 2 contractors, that they're not actually squeezing the supply chain as well.
It's interesting that there is the whole cost viability conversation going on about construction and development. I mean, we've seen prices, during / after COVID, prices skyrocketed for materials. Arguably, labour costs went up as well. And we're now faced with, if you like, an urban infrastructure, particularly older stone buildings, that are just financially unviable to do anything with. And that's not to decry the value of restoring those buildings. It's just that when you look at them, you go, oh my goodness. I was out at a building yesterday, which was a stone building, and the client bought it. Well, it's not a client actually, because we managed to give them the right advice and he doesn't need us. But the client bought the building. Sorry, it's not the client. The person bought the building at auction. I think it was £60,000 or £70,000, and their initial request was to convert that to serviced accommodation. And you looked at it and you thought, you're into the guts of spending £300,000 here. Location, size of the building makes you start to think: do you really? Well, one, they didn't have the funds to do that, but two, even if they did have the funds to do that, does the business model still stack up at the end of the day? My gut reaction was probably not. Now they can do what they want. It was currently an office building. I says, well, look, keep it as an office building. That's what it's got consent for. Fix your heating, fix your lighting, and redecorate it and get going again, which I think is what we want to do. But I think the high street and buildings, and you'll see this in your industry, some of the projects you're working on, I don't mean the domestic, well, maybe domestic as well, because there's a lot of domestic properties out there that are not been looked after over the years. But I can imagine, so I'm not decrying the value or the size of your build, but I can imagine some of the builds to fix these houses for stonemason, even you putting it out recovering and going, oh my God,
It's harrowing. The costs are harrowing, and I think the biggest thing that we find with any client that comes to ourselves is they genuinely don't know what it costs. They genuinely don't. And you try and guide them and you give them budget costs and expectations, but like you said there, like it commercially doesn't make sense in a lot of aspects. And that's why you're seeing so many of these older buildings being left to rot, because the developers know that they can't develop them. They're hoping that they rot, that they can flatten them, and then they can build your new build structures with your glass and your steel.
It's the wrong. You're right, you're absolutely right, but it's the wrong thing for the urban environment and for cities. And we've got legacy. We've got Greek Thompson buildings, we've got Macintosh buildings in the city centre, etc., that are just crumbling around about us. And no matter what pressure you've got the local authorities trying to put on owners and developers to do something with them, the costs just don't stack up.
No. It is. And a lot of, as I said there, a lot of clients don't know the cost to do things, and yourselves included. You'll know yourself when you're you're doing a design for a job,
yeah,
and then you get the build costs through, and you go, wow.
yeah. Well, absolutely, and I think that's one of the things that you maybe see in your industry as well, because we've seen it a lot. Is we've got clients questioning us all the time on costs.
Yeah.
But what clients need to remember is they invariably don't want to pay for a quantity surveyor.
No.
So we've got
Who tracks the
who
costs?
tracks the costs.
Yeah.
So we don't have that. I don't just mean on their project. I mean architects, not just us, but architects generally are struggling to keep a handle on what the costs are, build costs for projects,
Yep.
because clients are not properly engaged in the cost control process.
Yep.
So how much is a pallet of plasterboard? Don't know. You know how much. You know, because we're not involved in those costs daily.
Of course, yeah.
And trying to keep those costs at the forefront is very, very difficult. To the extent that you put it out to tender and the costs comes back and go, oh wow, right,
Yeah.
you know, that's it. So yeah, cost control is important. I'm interested to know then about the future of stonemasonry, because we've got all of these buildings that do need work on them.
Yep.
You mentioned earlier that you are very, very busy and getting quality work. You are very busy with quality work. Maybe you want to try and explain a wee bit about that, what that might mean to a listener in terms of.
So yeah, over the last 7 years, we've had our fair share of clients from residential to commercial. We work in both sectors. We started in residential, and we will always service that as long as we can. But like you said, costs are increasing year on year, and it's harder for the average homeowner to afford restoration.
Yeah.
And that's when you start getting substandard practices and whatever else in. But for us, quality is at the front of everything we do. And we spoke earlier about apprentices. Taking on more apprentices is not just enough. You need to take on apprentices that are getting the right care, the right time and attention with the right tradesmen. And so they are getting these skills passed down properly. But yeah, quality is everything. You get good jobs, you get not so good jobs, and you get bad jobs. And that's like any industry really. Maybe yourselves included, you know yourself how it works. Some sites will not stack, some will, and some are great sites. And it's all down to, you said there about the client and quantity surveyors. The tenders that you send out are only, the response you get from them will only be as good as the information the client wishes to obtain. So the more money the client puts in at the start, the better the tender will get, because the more information the contractors have got, and that's where quality will come in again. And a quality contractor will spot things. They'll know that that's been missed, or that's been an oversight. Whereas in commercial terms, a lot of the stuff, the tender packs it out can be very vague, and that's when the client starts to get a disparity in costs.
And the vagueness of those, it's the quality of the tender and the information we're put out that takes the quality of the cost and the prices that come back. Because more often than not, what we're seeing in the industry just now is costs, poor tender information going out, and some commercially minded, I'm going to say that, commercially minded contractors are rubbing their hands going, right, we're going to get an extra such and such out of that. And that can actually fall foul for them in the long run, because some clients don't have the extra £500,000. There's projects, I think, through in Edinburgh whereby that's exactly what happened, and the contractor is waiting for the money, I think, went bust because the sites went bust, the clients went bust, because poor tender information has caused the site to go way over budget. And it's always been an issue in the industry, though. I don't think that'll ever change somehow or other.
I think all your high profile projects you see that make the news and they make headlines, like I think Manchester Hall at the moment is getting renovated. And I seen an article at the end of last year that the build has increased by 76 million. So it's a £500 million project. And you've got yourself, why is that? What has happened there that has been massively missed? And I don't know the answer to that, but that's a prime example where going over budget by quite a way. And it does get, construction does get that stigma where you get somebody to work on your house or on your project, or there'll be extras or there'll be variations. And that's because there is things that crop up, especially in our industry. You're opening up these older buildings, you'll come across rot, you'll come across dilapidated sections of stone. It's going to happen.
Well, that's it. I was talking about stone then in an old building, because we've worked with a few old buildings, but getting a proper stone survey at the start of the project, so that you've got a proper schedule of works. That in itself can cost a lot of money, and can often be an architect working with a stonemason company like yourself to pull something together that's not just the architect's opinion, but it's also the professional tradesman's opinion that can then get put out for tender, proper tender.
And going back to what we said there, if the client's willing to spend that money, then they'll get a true reflection of that building. Because a stonemason working with an architect will come up with a really good report and a really good definition of what that building requires, as opposed to one and the other, if the two of them actually work together. And collaboration is what makes a good project a success.
Well, I think collaboration in the whole industry is something that makes a project a great success. Something we've learned over the years, but for some reason or other, there's always fresh clients coming on board who don't take that advice, and that's fine. And then we end up on a merry-go-round of, well, we've been here before, So that's it. Okay. Professional bodies then. We've had some guests last year who are, we've had FMB in, we've had Select in. Tell us a wee bit about the stonemasonry business. Are you got professional bodies? How does it work for clients looking for authentication?
So we are members of the Stonemason Guild, Master Craftsmen, and something that I'm very proud of. We've been members there since 2020. And we are in the process of becoming a member of the Stone Federation, which is another goal. And again, it just demonstrates our intention with our clients to let them know that we are serious, we're here for the long haul, and that we take absolute pride in everything that we do, whilst making sure that our team are compliant and they're delivering to the best practices.
Excellent. Okay. Is it something that you feel, I guess, as business owners, and myself included over the years, we've been members of various things. And I'm going to say this: the one for the living wage, So we all pay, and I don't decry the whole system, but it's like, well, we pay a bit of money every year to get a certificate to say that you're members of the living wage. You go, well, not going to pay it, but do we need that now? So I guess my question is when we look at some of the, well, I guess my question really is rooted in the fact that there's professional bodies, we've all got them, there's legislation, there's bureaucracy, there's all this stuff that's causing slowdowns in the construction industry. There's all this stuff, you've got to be qualified in this, have this accreditation, that accreditation, before you can even tender for this project. So all of that stuff, I feel like, and this is conversations that came out of the last year's podcast, it's actually just stuff that's holding us back, that's slowing things down. You just, at the end of the day, you're a stonemason, you want a stonemason. I'm an architect, I want an architect. I don't necessarily want to be involved in all the other bureaucracy stuff that goes on with it. Just let me come into the office and be an architect. What's the industry's views just now? I'm thinking from the trades guys. What's your views? Because historically the white van man kind of thing wasn't interested in branding. Didn't answer emails because they just want to go away and build your extension or do whatever it is they're trained to do. Then comes on board the kind of small to medium-sized businesses who are inflicted with all these different types of accreditations, and you're going, well, actually, I'm doing it because I'm trying to win that tender. But is there advantages to you or tick box exercise? Or?
I think we've been down the public procurement procedure as well with some of our clients, because that's the platform that we're asked to tender on, which is fair for everybody. My honest review of it is I don't think there's enough. There should be one body that should be relevant to a construction trade. Now, whether that's architect, there's one body and that's it. Case closed. The fact that there's construction line gold, there's construction line silver, there's SMAS, there's IOSH, there's other SIPs. Contractors don't really know what to go for to get the best to be the most compliant, and that's a problem because what happens is you end up going for all of them and you spend tens of thousands of pounds every year. Your ISOs, these kind of things. So I think if there's a registered body where, for example, let's say construction line gold, and that's mandatory for every trade that wants to tender for a certain project up to a certain value. Then that way everyone knows where they are. But what we've seen through Public Contract Scotland is that clients are putting out tenders with all these conditions and requirements, but the tendering contractors can't meet them. So they're not getting the amount of tenderers going back enough to judge the tender fairly. We looked at a castle last year. We get invited to tender for it, and we didn't meet the criteria. So the client got 2 tenderers returned from 5, but because there was only 2, they couldn't judge that. So they actually shot themselves in the foot with their own criteria.
Yeah.
So again, if you make it the same for everyone, if you're asking someone to tender for a project, you've already done your homework on them.
Well, you would have thought so, yeah.
You've done your due diligence. If you're outreaching to them and asking them,
yeah.
it's different if they're cold calling you.
Yeah.
But for me, there needs to be criteria for that up to a certain value of works, whether it's commercial or residential, and it moves from there. Because, like you say, there's so many different things.
Yeah.
You don't know what one to go for.
Yeah. So I just think about the time where I was invited to go to, it was a couple's house. I can't remember what they're doing, but come to the house, we're going to do some work or whatever it was. I thought, fine, I went along. And it was like an interview process. So tell me why I should choose you over the architect next door. Well, wait a minute. You asked me to come here. You know, why, you know, all the information you need to know about me is on the webpage and blah, 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 blah. I was happy to have a conversation, but I wasn't happy to go there and have a sales pitch, you know. I just thought it was a bit odd, but anyway, one of those stories. Yeah,
it's the same as well commercially on some of the kind of projects where you tender for the work. You might be one of the favoured contractors, but they'll ask you for an interview on how you'll deliver it and why you. And you've asked me to tender, like you should know what we can deliver. Yeah. Yes, in terms of logistics of the site and how you do it, I get that. But yeah, you're right. It's interesting how it goes. Yeah. I think in the residential market as well, there's so many different people out there in your game as well. The competition's probably harder.
Yeah, it's a weird one actually. I would say because our practice was founded on residential projects, and we've kind of moved away from it over the years. I mean, there was a time where even just me and my colleague Ron at the time were doing something like 100 domestic projects a year, extensions and attic conversions, all that kind of stuff, and we kind of moved away from it. Trying to think, it was probably in the back of the 2007 recession, you know, where everybody says, oh, that's fine, everybody's going to be extending their home now because nobody can afford to move. Yeah. No, it was a global recession, you know, everybody started to watch their penny, even the homeowner who was thinking of an extension or a garage conversion stopped. So that started a chain of events that made us move away from the residential market into a commercial market. And we're working from some fairly sizable commercial projects now. And the whole lesson in that, I think, for me then at the time was really just that the residential market, what's the word? The clients, because they're unaware, not informed, you end up, you know, you get a phone call every day. What's happening next? What's next? I thought, I'm here to do your drawings and get your plan permission to build one. Okay, I'm happy to give you some advice, but when you've got 100 clients phoning you up during the course of the year and you've got to educate them on the whole process, you know, and actually I don't know if I'd like to do that now because the process is even more complex. Planning's harder. Legislation. Yeah, more legislation. I don't think I could go back to it. But also I would say that because I do follow, you know, what's happening locally in terms of architects and what have you, I don't think there's as many architects or even technicians working from the home offering domestic architecture services. I think that market's probably dipped a wee bit as well in terms of architects doing it, and maybe not demand. I don't know. But how are you finding demand in terms of the stonemasonry stuff over the last 12 months or so?
The last 12 months, it's definitely changed. Post-COVID, we were primarily residential because a lot of people couldn't go on holiday. They had been furloughed, so they were looking around about their house and they were seeing all the work needed done. I think any domestic homeowner will attest to that. But in the last 12 months, we definitely see a lot more commercial stuff. And due to there's always 2 mindsets when you're working with residential and commercial. When you're working commercial, you're dealing with someone's budget. When you're working with residential, you're working with someone's money. Very different. Because budgets can change depending on governments and legislation and rules.
Good so,
Yep. So if you're coming to the end of a tax year, you get some projects that need to be done in that year. And if you're working in someone's home, then it's dictated by their financial situation. 2 totally different mindsets.
Good. Yeah, I would accord with that, definitely. Although I've never thought about it, but absolutely.
So we mostly work in commercial, but we still deal with residential. We will never refuse a residential project. But what we do with our clients is we try and educate them in costs. So we're not wasting our time or theirs. we'll usually give a kind of indicative budget.
Excellent.
And that makes sure that they know what they're expected to pay.
So, anything else burning a hole in your brain thinking about the construction industry? I mean, we've obviously spoken about apprenticeships, which is great because it's a huge issue, and we've maybe explored a wee bit more in depth about some of the challenges of that whole apprenticeship program. But is there anything else that you can think of?
Yeah, just what I said earlier. I think construction from top down needs to be completely overhauled. I think the model's broken. Where we actually got asked at the end of last year, name me 3 of your main contractors that you work with, and I couldn't name 3 because we don't tend to work with main contractors.
Right.
Because we've had previous experiences where retentions haven't been paid, even though we've chased. Final accounts are problematic, even though the work's done and complete and signed off. And for me, if we come and do a job for you on your site, on your house, and we've gave you everything that we've agreed, the very least we expect is to get paid. But having to go and chase your money and fight tooth and nail with quantity surveyors, and other people alike, it's very hard. And it gets very onerous, and it's not something that we want to be doing because our time's best spent working on the buildings. So I'd say that change needs to come from government level, where your larger scale companies can't squeeze the specialist supply chain.
I think that's one of the things I keep saying is all of these processes and systems and procedures, you know, that your tier 1, tier 2 contractors work with, set by government, blah, 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 they're all there for the right reasons, but they just seem to clog things up. They clog the money side of things. The fact that you're waiting for retention money, and I'm not saying that retention is not a good thing, I think it's the right thing to do, but the fact you have to fight for it to get money. I mean, you know, we've got a crisis in the industry where we're not getting enough tradespeople in, but then the tradespeople we do have in, who are good, solid businesses, who want to do good, solid work, aren't prepared to work for your tier 1, 2 tier contractors because cash flow is a bit of an issue. You know, I mean, it mind boggles actually just how complex the situation is. And I've said it often and weary enough, I think, now on social media, that somebody at the top needs to make the hard decision to try and take out some of those layers and levels of bureaucracy and legislation. They're there for the right reasons.
They are,
But unless they're overhauled and removed, you know, we're gonna just keep floundering.
You want a level playing field? That's what you ask.
A
level playing field for every contractor. Payment terms are all set, and that there's no different for each different trade or different company you work for. It's all mandatory, and that's the way it is. And if they're not met for whatever reason, then there's obviously action that comes behind. So I think if you change that, companies will want to scale, because you know yourself how many people you know that are incredible at what they do. Either don't want to take on more staff or don't want to take on staff at all. But they're incredible at what they do, and they've got a skill there that should be passed. Because of all the legislation.
It's true. We have as architects, we have that dialogue in here every single day. You know, with myself, with the team, and also the kind of management team. It's like, you know, a new project comes in, you think, well, you know, we could really be doing with another body to deal with that, and you go, well, yeah, we could, but you know, cash flow issue over there, cash flow with that project's been delayed. So if 2 projects kick off at the same time, we definitely need staff. But that project over there is delayed in planning, so is it going to kick off at the same time? And the answer is, you shrug your shoulders and nobody knows.
No, you don't know.
You don't know. No. So you kind of fight those fires as you come across them. And I'm pleased to say that, you know, 22 years later, we're still here. But
not many folk can say that.
No, not many folk can say that. Don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people of you know, operate bigger businesses than block architects, but I think we're still here. We're still doing a good service to the sector or the site, the client base that we serve. You know, we're not away doing big international projects and dealing with that kind of stuff. You know, and that's not my bag. But what we do, I think we do very well. You know, but fraught with legislation. I'm trying to think. It's a bit. You know, this is a business one. I'm just trying to think of some of the things. TV license. You know, got to pay for a TV license. What's the one for because you're managing data, you've got to pay them a license fee every year. ICO, you know, and you think, really? You know, it just, I mean, before you know it, you're spending £1,000 or so just on these things even started. The living wage thing, 106, 170 quid, what it is. It's not that they're big amounts of money, you know, but actually you look at it, and actually you look at some of those fees and look at how much they've went up since last year. You go, what's happened that you're up 20%, 50%, 40%? You know, we've got the rates thing changing.
The rates is a big problem because your commercial businesses on the high street is why the high street's finished, because the businesses can't afford the rates, and they're now finding ways to either shut and set up or go online or remote. So that needs changed, because you see the high street yourself. The amount of empty businesses in Hamilton alone on the main street at Quarry Street, it's quite frightening.
It is fine. I don't know. I've been involved in some discussions. I do know that they've got some big plans in Hamilton, and that they are making some major moves in Hamilton to get some of those shops and areas all, you know, refurbished and demolished, demolitions and new builds. But it's like everything else. Even though that's local authority led, that comes at a cost, you know. And cost and development viability just now is a huge thing, you know. And I know they're doing work up at East Kilbride. They've just announced at the end of this month they will own the shopping, or the council will own the shopping centre, which means in theory then next year the demolition work start and the preparation for demolition of the shopping centre or part of the shopping centre and new built housing up there. So
that's a big job.
That's a big job, you know, and I think a lot of people expect local authorities just to come in with a big brush and fix everything right away. The reality is that just can't happen, because you've got Mr. Brown over here who's happy that his football pitches are getting reseeded, and Mrs. Simpson over here who's complaining about that because the roads haven't been weeded. You know, you can't win. You know, you can't win. All that said, back to the topic of bureaucracy, is definitely something I think that to fix the model of the UK construction industry is something that's going to require less reports, less looking into. It's just someone at the top of the tree to sit and listen to podcasts like this and just say, do you know what, you know, Kenny and Scott's right. We're just going to pull that requirement for that report, pull a requirement for that report.
Make it easier, make it more viable.
That's it. Suffer the consequences as a society, because there will be consequences to that. There may be safety issues, and that's not right. But at the end of the day, if they want to get things motoring and moving quickly, then they need to start removing some of those obstacles. And another thing I keep reflecting on is when we're putting projects through planning, and then you guys are taking stuff on site, you know, there's this requirement for it. It's almost like you've got to get an A pass and everything. Now, my kids have just come through high school, you know, did incredibly well in their exams, and I'm proud of them, you know, but there are some people who coming out of school with straight A's, and there's people getting B's and people getting C's and stuff like that. And you go, well, why can't the planning and the development world be a bit like that? I mean, if we can treat our kids or ourselves, you know, with a grade system, why is it that every project that comes through planning, you know, needs to have almost like a grade A tick box? You know, oh sorry, you've passed. There's 100 tick boxes. You've done 99 of them, but the last one is the water vowel. You know, important little animal, not decrying it, but no, you can't build because of. You go, really?
I know.
You know,
we actually spoke about this last year, when a business owner where we were saying that you see all these buildings that need redeveloped or need new tenants, and developers are putting proposals into planning, and planning's getting refused, even though they are trying to regenerate the town centre. And you need to ask yourself, what is the bigger play here? Why? As you say, there'll always be something that needs to be changed or tweaked or whatever else, but ultimately someone's trying to do better for that building. Why would you not let them develop it? So I don't understand why that's not the case. It's almost like you're fighting with it in terms of taking a building that's empty and then trying to do good by it.
It never ceases to amaze me, just some of the dialogue that goes on between us and planning departments and the various other people who could influence those departments, environmental.
That's an important point. It's not just the department; it's who you're dealing with on that particular project. It's not. It's human as well, isn't it? It's someone's preference for that detail.
That's right. Absolutely. I mean, we've done projects in the past where we've worked with listed buildings, and the council have actually got a listed building officer. You know. And we've had one whereby you can't subdivide that room because when you're standing on the street looking up to the building, looking through the window, it will look like the room's been subdivided. And I'm thinking, I don't think anybody ever walks down a street and looks up at a building and goes, "Oh, they've subdivided that room."
I think looks at a building up at
you know,
all.
And I'm not saying that. I just find some of the things that some of these people say a bit ridiculous and a bit ludicrous. You know, you go, well, who thinks like that?
Mm-hmm. Where's that coming from?
Where's that coming from?
Yeah.
You know, but it's the world we live in. You know, it's the world we live in. I thoroughly enjoy myself. Usually, the last guest leaves a wee question for you.
Okay.
So I've got a wee question for you, and it's really related to 2026.
Okay.
So we've got the year ahead of us, 2026. What are you most looking forward to in your business for 2026?
Bringing on the next crop of apprentices and seeing them develop as young men or women, learning the skills, not just in the trade, but life skills, and seeing them coming through and qualifying. Because I had a conversation with my old lecturer at the end of last year, like I said, and he asked me, he says, if it doesn't make sense to take on apprentices, why do you do it? And I says, because I was an apprentice. Someone took a point on me, and we always do that. And for me, that is one of the most fulfilling things about what we do. So I'm really excited to see apprentices this year.
Good. Yeah, I think you're right. I think it's a good thing to bring the apprentices on. We do it. We've done it historically in the business. We haven't done it for a wee while. We probably should look at it in 2026. Because there is that kind of bittersweet that when you bring them in and you train them, that they go off to the next job. But I've always said to the apprentices, it's not apprentices, the junior architects that we've been training, is my job is for as long as I've got you to teach you everything I need to teach you, so that when you go out to the next job that you're going to go to, that somebody looks back and goes, they did that guy or that girl well, you know, by them, that they've got some knowledge, some education that's maybe beyond. I don't mean that they're so advanced, but beyond potentially where they should be, you know, and I think that's a good thing to aspire to.
Yeah. Definitely.
Scott, the guest always leaves a question for the next guest. I know you don't know who that is. I keep saying that every time, but it's great that you don't know who that is sometimes. Have you got a question then for our next guest?
So my question would be, based on your experience and time in your current industry, if you went back to when you first started, what would you do different?
Excellent. Okay. So take them right back to the start. What would you do different? What would you do different? 2 questions.
I would probably believe in myself more. I know it sounds straightforward and easy enough, but genuinely, I think if you really apply yourself and you keep your head down, I didn't think I would be set up to have the business I have today. But I just kept getting better at what I did each day, and then here I am now. So I think if you really believe in what you do and you know you're doing what's right, I think it can take you to places that you maybe don't even realise.
Yeah. It reminds me of a business coach that we once worked with. She says, if you keep doing that 1% every day, that's all you need to do. 1% different, 1% betterment, and something in your business every day, you'll be amazed what you can achieve in a year.
I think social media paints this picture that there's a magic potion or there's this thing that we're not getting told or taught, but that is exactly what it is. Commit to getting yourself better every day at your craft, whatever it is you do, and in 5-10 years, it's amazing where you can end up.
Fantastic. Scott, if anyone wants to get in contact with you, how would they reach you?
Social media, we're on Facebook, Instagram, mostly LinkedIn. LinkedIn's the platform we post there 5 times a week. We're on YouTube as well, and we've also got a website as well. So.
Cool, fantastic. Well, for listeners, I thoroughly enjoy my time here with Scott. I do follow you on your socials, so hopefully a few of your listeners will jump over and follow us. Subscribe to your favourite channel. We're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, and something else, can't remember. So we're out there with that. Scott, thanks for coming on board the podcast, and I wish you and your team all the best for 2026.
Thank you, Kenny. You too.
Cool. Thanks for tuning in to the Hard Hat Talks. If you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your shows. That way, you'll be sure to never miss an episode. If you've got any feedback or a topic you want us to tackle, please drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Till next time, stay safe, stay sharp, and keep your hard hat on.